those certain moments in your life to where you wish you could go back in time and talk to your younger self? You want to know what I want to do to my younger self? Slap him in the face. What's going on, guys, and welcome to my review of Battleship. This is one of those that I've been requested upon to do. One of the first of somewhat many, not that I get too many requests, but I have been getting some requests that's been popping up here lately. For that person, for you who has requested this one, I know it's been a while. I deeply apologize. If you're still here, if you're still subscribed, I do deeply apologize for that. And just letting the rest of y'all know, the rest of y'all who've been requesting movie reviews from me, if I don't get to you, if I don't get to any of those in time, I do deeply apologize. One, I've got requested for a film called Volcano here just recently, just the other day actually. That's a particular film that's on none of the streaming services I have, and it's not on physical media, given the state of physical media and how stupid that's been. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get to movies like that, especially that aren't quite available. So bear with me. And again, to that subscriber who has requested this review, if you're still here, thank you so much. And for the remaining of you, thank you so much, guys, for clinging here. I really do appreciate it. So released in 2012, based off a board game, which I've never played. I don't do board games like at all. But based off a board game of the same name, the film follows a small group of military warships whose crew are forced to fight against a fleet of extraterrestrial origins in order to thwart their plans to destroy our planet. Now, this was something that when I first laid eyes on this, when I first went in and saw this in theaters, I wasn't really impressed. I remember rolling out of the theater thinking to myself, damn, this is hot garbage. Now, after rewatching this a decade plus later, I can honestly tell my younger self, what the hell was wrong with you? This movie was actually quite fantastic. It's funny how time can change some things, honestly. Since I started doing reviews on this channel and just looking at movies a certain way, I started to appreciate a lot. Not all of them. Some I've actually kept the same opinions I have years ago, probably around that same era. So not every movie's out of the woodwork. I find new perspective in certain things, and this is definitely an exception. This is definitely an example of one of those. I've learned to adapt. But was this the greatest thing ever since I rewatched it? Or was this just another sinking ship? Starting off the positives for Battleship, I do gotta say, I did like the brotherly connection between Taylor Kitsch, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, and Alexander Skarsgård. You have one of the brothers, the younger brother, who's the screw-up in Taylor Kitsch. The one who would always get in trouble, the one that's always trying to impress the girl and get in trouble with the law and just a definite screw-up. But at the same time, which this is kind of the ironic part of it, he becomes the main lead of the film later on, which is really ironic. And then you have Alexander Skarsgård, the older brother, the one that tries to teach him certain life lessons and tries to get him on the right path. It's basically his brother's keeper. And it's something I can kind of relate to on a certain scale. And it's why I appreciated it that much. A lot has happened in the 10 plus years since I first watched this movie, and that's another reason why this concept never really came to me at that time. And now it's just something I can really deeply appreciate, especially in this segment of the film. And I think it gave the film a pretty cool precedent and just a base of morality that's set. I think it gave a film a set of morality between the two brothers that I thought it set up pretty well. I think it set up quite nicely, and it just set up the type of character development that this film was trying to do between these two guys. And I think it worked. It worked nicely. This was one of the main problems that I had with this film when I first watched it, was the confined space. You have these alien ships that creates this dome around them and these military battleships within a 5 to 10 or 15, maybe more mile radius, dead smack out in the middle of the ocean. And it's a very tight, enclosed space between these aliens and the humans. Just something about that, when I first watched this, Just something about that, it just felt, I mean, is this really the whole entire movie? Is this really, they're not going to go anywhere else? However, they did go somewhere else. And besides, it wasn't all that bad with that enclosed space with this rewatch. First of all, again, it wasn't around just that area of the film, just in that enclosed space. There are plenty of scenes that revolved elsewhere, something that for some reason my brain couldn't comprehend back then. I don't know why. I was just completely closed-minded. Again, when you start looking at movies the way I do, after a certain period of time, it just opens up a whole new world. Sometimes for the better. And secondly, the action for me should have been enough in the first place, but it wasn't. But now, it was crazy. I loved it. I mean, sure, it did get over the top at times, but I still loved it. I'm all about that crazy nonsense, sorta over-the-top action, explosions, and just all-out chaotic craziness. I mean, even in the dome scenes, that's where it was the best. That's where it was, like, even better. Again, I don't understand my younger self. I want to slap him. Just so bad. I just want to... Why you... Rewatching this, and I know this is going to seem a little over extreme, but I don't care, my review, but I just felt baptized. I felt like I was washed away of all of the bad opinions of this film that I had in the first place. I felt like all that was washed away in this rewatch in just a blink of a little over 2 hours. I felt reborn again for this movie. Again, that might sound like a little bit of an overreaction, but I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
It just felt like that to me in terms of my perspective of my whole new, entirely different and new perspective of this film. It was great, and I'm pretty much sticking with that for now. I love the way the film looked. It was very flashy, it was very smooth, very silk-like. It almost reminded me, and yes, I'm not comparing this just because I like his movies. You guys know how big of a fan of this guy I am, but it kind of looked like a Michael Bay film. Peter Berg, who is the film's director, who we all know of as horror fans from Wes Craven's directed Shocker from 1989, I think he did a really excellent job. He's one of those directors that doesn't really come across my eyes that much, but I think he did a really good job for this film. Just that very slick and smooth-like feel. I know I compared it to a Michael Bay film. It's not like there was any drone shots or anything, which is what he's most famous for, but it just looked very slick and very silky and just smooth, and it made it for a very pleasant viewing experience. And I forgot the fact that Liam Neeson is in this. He's not in it much. I think at the time he was working on Taken 2. But still, he's in this, and I thought it was pretty cool seeing him as well. Moving on to my next, I did like the aliens. I thought they brought sort of a unique take on the alien genre on how they looked. I liked the suits. I thought it gave kind of a halo, not that I played any of the games, but I've seen plenty of the material and the drawings and the covers of them, but it kind of gave like sort of a halo vibe on how the characters would wear their suits and stuff in that content. I thought it kind of brought sort of like a halo look to it. The suits and the helmets and whatnot. I thought they were very cool. But what didn't work for me was when they actually showed the actual aliens, they just looked weird. When it actually showed the actual beings, the actual flesh and blood aliens, it didn't really work for me. They didn't really look like aliens. I did like the double-fingered hands that they have. It's kind of hard to describe, but they had like fingers on this side and then kind of curved on the other side. So it was like double, I'm just going to call them double fingers. I did like that, but when it showed the actual aliens, despite them being in the suits, which was the coolest part for them, I just felt like whenever it showed the actual beings, it was a little bit of a disappointment. That's just a me thing, and that's my own pet peeve. I just didn't think they were that intimidating, even with their lizard-like eyes. But I do think that their double-fingered hands made them distinct, made them stand out, despite the alien beings themselves. But the rest, other than the suits themselves, nah, didn't really look alien enough for me. Didn't quite live up to that expectation of what I remember. I had forgotten a lot about this movie in the decade plus since I watched this last, but nah, wasn't really impressed by the beings themselves. And the only negative I have is the relationship between Taylor Kitsch and Brooklyn Decker. Not so much with their relationship as a whole, like with the rest of the film, but how it started off. Where it shows at the beginning of the film, it shows Taylor's character trying to impress her at that bar, and she just walks in and she wants a hot dog, and he tries to impress her by saying, oh, I'll get you that hot dog. So he goes into this convenience store, breaks in, tries to steal it, and he gets chased by the cops, which I guess this was kind of funny in sort of a high school kind of way when you look at it, but him getting chased by these cops and him getting tased just at the moment that he was giving her that hot dog, and then it shows in the next scene, like, immediately them going out. I never really quite bought into that. I don't really remember a timestamp being said or anything. That just felt a little bit too rushed, especially in terms of character development, which I think it's very important. And it just kind of made me feel a little, I just don't know what to think about that. I know I'm probably sounding a little contradictory here, saying that the rest of the film with their relationship I didn't have a problem with, but the way it started off, it just wasn't that realistic for me. And I know this is not a movie that you need to look at as being realistic, but in terms of character development, I kind of wanted a little bit more screen time on them getting together and then going to the action, or at least showing like a 5-year gap or something like that. That probably would have helped within itself. Again, like with the alien thing, that's my own pet peeve. I had a great time with this. Compared to my first viewing, this has definitely went up a few notches. It's amazing how time changes everything sometimes. Because of that, this is definitely a happy accident. So Battleship, what was your thoughts on this? Are you a fan of this? Are you somebody that enjoyed this? Was this your favorite alien invasion type film? Or are you somebody that didn't quite enjoy this particular film? Or was this not in your ship at all? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.